Welcome to Monday Motivations, 52 Weeks to a More Purposeful You. Corry Mendoza here. And this week we have I'm not kidding when I say very special guest. This is my husband, my better half, and the man of my dreams, Rusty Mendoza. And we are going to be talking this week about competition, which is message number 40. And Rusty, you are the perfect person. Would you consider yourself competitive?
Extremely.
Yes. As an Enneagram 3, I have to say I've never met anybody more competitive than Rusty. Winning is very important to him. So this morning we were kind of chatting about which topic would be best for him on the show. And yeah, this is the one. So thank you for taking your time to be on the show.
Yeah, pleasure.
I have to say that I'm more nervous on this one than any other one, and I don't know why. Okay. What do you think? Why do you think I'm nervous?
Because you're excited.
That's true. So a little bit about Rusty, for those of you who don't know. So Rusty Mendoza is a certified mortgage planner for Movement Mortgage. Movement Mortgage. We both have our cups. He has been passionately serving homeowners all over California with their residential lending needs since 2001. So if you do the math, that's about 21 years old, 21 years doing loans. He's made President's Club and been a top producer for his company for the past 20 years straight. So I would consider that pretty competitive. Rusty brings a warm and abundant presence to his clients and business partners and enjoys helping others achieve their goals and dreams. Rusty believes that you're only as valuable as the value you bring, and Rusty brings abundance, optimism, creativity, and a zest for life that is contagious to everyone around him. So thank you for being on the show.
Yeah, pleasure.
So good. So what did you think about the topic on competition? What did you get from it?
I like that, it really resonates with the way that I like to compete, because I don't like to compete with others as much as I like to compete with myself. And it never feels good when you get into a situation where you're having to drive and compete to beat somebody else, because most of the time that's outside your control. I do love having a competitive environment where there's people pushing each other and there is transparency on numbers and goals and details and things like that. Or in a sport where there's an outcome of the competition. But if I lose or I don't get first, I'm the first person to go up and congratulate the other person and shake their hand and be just as happy for them as I would be for myself. So I thought your chapter really touched well on the heart of competition being to strive without the outcome being the end goal.
Yeah, not everybody loves competition, and people will say that I am competitive, and I agree with it, but I don't like the feeling of competition. I don't like being competitive, and I've taken up tennis to try to keep up with this guy. And in doing tennis, it has not been comfortable, and I had to get comfortable with kind of what you were talking about. What were you saying about like the drive, the I don't know what I'm trying to say, but like
being in competition or being in a competitive environment motivates you.
Some
motivates me. But it's not about the outcome that it's about. I love how I feel when I'm competing, and I love how I feel where I have a purpose and a goal in which it is to be winning or
Mhm.
on top. But if the result doesn't come out the way that I felt, it's not like I get sucked into that and I lost anything, because the person that I became in the process of competing
Mhm.
is a better version of myself than had I not had something that was driving
Mhm.
me. Um, and I think the key thing there on that is to compete for the right reasons.
Mhm.
Competing for what it does to yourself and how it pushes yourself, not competing to beat somebody else.
Mhm. Do you ever find yourself sucked into that feeling of wanting to beat somebody else?
Um,
Yes.
yeah, I
Oh.
mean, I mean, there are times where that occurs, but the um, the feeling of that I notice pretty quick, and I don't like how I feel.
Yeah.
So, um, so as soon as I catch myself, I'm in that situation, and a lot of times it could be my opponent or the culture or something like that, and then I catch how that feels, and
Mhm.
I step out of it,
Mm.
and then I find my own way to compete, which is the authenticity part that you talked about in your
Mhm.
chapter. I think competing in your own unique way for yourself
Mhm.
is the key.
Oh, I'm actually getting a lot out of this and kind of understanding you in a new way, which is pretty cool, since we're married. Um, so so some people, they're not going to be like you're drawn towards competition.
Mhm.
Like we could be playing a fun game with the kids at home, and all of a sudden he wants to turn it into a game with points and somebody's going to win, and I will be like, let's just have a good time. And sometimes Stella also, like last Sunday, we were playing tennis at the park by our house, and James had a friend over, and his friend had never played tennis before. And Stella and I were like, let's just hit the ball back and forth. So we're kind of competition averse. It's like I don't want to get into like a match or a game where there's going to be an end result of somebody winning or losing, but Rusty, you always want to create it to be a competition. And what I'm learning about you and other people that have this drive towards competition is that you're doing it not to dominate or crush or conquer other people. You're doing it for yourself.
Yeah, because once there's the parameters and there, the outcome, now there's engagement,
Yes.
and then the engagement causes the motivation.
Yes, yes. So yeah, I think that some of it is like there's a nature nurture perspective around competition. So like the nature perspective is that some people are just innately competitive. You could see the little kids on the playground, they want that. And then some of our bents towards competition or not could also be a nurture perspective. It could be some people have had bad experiences in competitive sports or in competitive environments, and then they shy away from it.
Yeah.
So I like that we're just kind of getting this conversation out there. When do you think competition is healthy versus unhealthy?
I think it has to do with it it definitely gets unhealthy when people are not playing fair,
Yeah.
um, when people are in a scarcity mindset. I
Mhm.
hate competing in scarcity, like,
Mhm.
you know, um, where there's this like mine, yours,
Mhm.
it just doesn't feel fair,
Mhm.
right? That doesn't feel good to me.
Mhm.
Like I want everybody to do well. I mean, obviously in win or lose situations, or number one, number two, number three situations, there
Mhm.
can't be everybody getting number one. Not everybody can win. So there does have to be somebody that takes a short into that, but like I personally always want my opponent or whoever it is that I'm competing against to feel that they were challenged and inspired by me. And when I'm going against or I'm in a situation when I feel that my opponents or competitors don't want me to feel challenged or to do well against them, then that's no fun.
Yes, yeah. So, oh, that's actually really good. Yeah. So, so just to recap what you're saying, it's ineffective or unhealthy competition when there's scarcity.
Yeah,
And then the other one is unhealthy or ineffective when somebody's kind of protecting you from getting your feelings hurt, or is that what you were saying?
I wouldn't say about protecting if I get my feelings hurt. I would say more of just they, they're just they don't have any regards to a little bit too ruthless, I guess.
Oh, okay,
Yeah,
okay. So the
yeah,
opposite of what I was thinking.
yeah.
Yeah, okay, yeah. So what about what would make competition productive and healthy for people?
Um, just enjoying the challenge, enjoying being pushed towards an outcome. Enjoy the process of it and having or reminding themselves what's the purpose of this about to begin with,
Mhm,
and keeping that purpose in the forefront of their mind. um yeah.
yeah, yeah, it's funny because, I wrote this from a very different place than I am now. And I still see that I still struggle with competition. I will feel like I get very nervous before my tennis matches. And so this is really good. You're in a very competitive industry. So real estate and lending can be very competitive. You've been highly successful for 21 years. Your clients love you. What do you think makes the difference between somebody thriving in a competitive industry versus somebody just floundering or quitting or not making it?
um well, I would say number one, they don't want to embrace the challenge
Okay.
of the competition to begin with. So they, if they have a negative perspective towards competition and they're just not going to play and they're just going to do their job,
Mhm.
I think that they are missing out on the beauty of competition.
Mhm.
I would say that's the first thing. And the second thing is you have to remember your reputation, because if you want to get a reputation for being a take-it-all, nasty competitor who is going to steamroll over you and not give two cares,
Mhm.
I personally would never want to be known as that kind of competitor.
Right.
I mean, sure, they might reach higher mountaintops than me,
Mhm.
but for what purpose, right? It always comes
Mhm.
back to purpose of why am I competing? Like I'm competing to be a better version of myself, not being better than somebody else.
Oh my gosh, that is so big. That is so big. And how do you think competition in your career has helped you become a better person outside of your career?
Yeah, I would say so. Absolutely. Um, yeah, I mean, having to see what it feels like to be on the burnt end of a ruthless competitor, which I have been in a number of cases before. Um, I learned early on in my career that I didn't want to be that type of a
Mhm.
loan officer.
Mhm.
I'd rather achieve better marks every year or reach the goals that I had set for myself, um, and be happy through my 365 days of competing versus just giving to a no end beast. So yeah,
Mhm.
yeah.
And okay, so you're 42 years young. What's it like? I know right now you're dealing with tennis competitions, little league competitions, um, career competitions. Like, are you winning? And what's it like when you're not?
That's a funny thing. So I think we can only compete in so many ways at once. And when you are an Enneagram 3 or somebody that is motivated by competition, um,
I'm just trying to hold up a book. The Enneagram is an amazing tool. I recommend this book, and we'll talk about that later. Sorry, keep going.
yeah, so when you are an Enneagram 3 where you love competition and you love to win, and we've already talked about what's the healthy way to go about competing. Um, you can only have so much focus on so many competitions at once
Mhm,
because when you do anything as a competitor, you're all in.
mhm.
And so I'm in this season where, you know, um, there's work, there's Little League, and then there's tennis.
And then there's
And
me.
fortunately, I don't have to compete for you.
Yeah.
Um, but this is James's last year in Little League. So
Mhm,
I wanted to go out with my coaching with the bang because I'm never going to have this time as a Little League coach competitor again. So I've been hyper focused on that. And, whenever you're coaching a team, there's always going to be challenges and, players getting hurt or people being absent. And, so I don't want to bring an overzealous competitive spirit to a fun little league experience,
mhm,
but quietly in the inside, that's what's going on. So I show up with a smile, I make it fun, I'm firm on the kids, I challenge them, I push them towards our goal, and I do the best that I can. But then obviously, it doesn't always work out the way that we envision. But this is what I'm really learning in this season of competing is that um, when you are all in, regardless of the outcome, I can walk away happy, congratulating the teams that did the best. Hopefully, ours comes out on top. But I'm gonna have closed this chapter in my coaching career, knowing that I competed from the right place with my heart all in,
mhm,
and that's the real root key piece of competing is your heart has to be all in
mhm,
and knowing what's the purpose.
mhm.
So yeah, after this little league season's over, it'll go back to work for a period of time. And then our tennis team just made it to nationals. So we're going to Phoenix in October. So come August, my focus will shift to start to compete and be all in on tennis. And that's what's fun also being a competitor is being able to have different things that you're competing for,
Mhm,
and putting things in different buckets, going hard for a period of time, and then
mhm,
shifting the focus to something else. So
mhm.
that's how I like it, at least.
Yeah. Well, I'm getting a lot out of this, and I think our listeners will as well. Those that are naturally competitive are probably going to be nodding their heads, agreeing with some of the stuff you're saying, and maybe even getting pushed and challenged to kind of sharpen up the way they compete. And then for others, like myself, I'm not sure. I know I am competitive, but I think when people observe competitive tendencies with me, I might be coming more from scarcity than embracing the challenge and challenging myself So I'm gonna ponder on this, and I have plenty of tennis matches coming up that I can practice this. What from the book, you kind of mentioned the authenticity piece. You mentioned the authenticity piece. Say a little bit more about, finding that authenticity, maybe even as it relates to your career, finding that
Well, yeah.
balance.
So for the audience that doesn't know, I was diagnosed legally deaf when I was in second grade, and I'm in a sales industry where a majority of it's over the phone.
Mhm.
So, when the competitor is next door in his office, banging out 300, 400 phone calls, whatever it is, because he can, I can't compete that way, right? I'm gonna have to be more authentic in how I go about my competing. Um, so that would say that's one way. Like
Mhm.
if I'm gonna play by their rules and how they are going to compete,
Mhm.
I've already lost,
Mhm.
right? But if I can find a way for myself to be more effective and beat them
Mhm.
how I can, now
Mhm.
I'm showing up authentic.
It makes me think of, there's a book by Malcolm, is his name
Malcolm
Mal?
Gladwell.
Yeah, Malcolm Gladwell, Goliath Must Fall. He gives an example of a basketball team. I think, I don't know who it was, but he was coaching his daughter's basketball team, and they were competing against more advanced players. So the basketball coach had to figure out ways to maximize their strengths
Mhm.
so that they could achieve and they could win based off their strengths,
Yeah,
instead of they had to play by a different set of rules. And
yeah.
I think
Within the rules, but a different set of rules.
yeah, within the rules, but a different strategy.
Mhm.
um yeah. And I something that when I have felt, especially in my 20s, I remember being just a young adult in a sales environment in the title industry. And I remember a similar feeling of feeling like I couldn't compete the same way that other salespeople were. And I had a lot of pressure. And it finally hit me that um, competition vaporizes in the presence of authenticity. So it's
Yeah,
like,
that's smart.
yeah. So,
Yeah.
so say more a little about that.
Well, I mean, it's like when you are, I think it goes back to being all in. Like if I'm gonna play by an unauthentic strategy,
Yes, my heart won't be in it.
yeah, I'm not gonna be all in. My
Yeah.
heart's not gonna be all in. But if I can figure out how I can do my best to be all in,
Mm,
now the competition is vaporized because I'm
mhm.
being authentic.
Yeah, and we're not looking around at, oh, what are they doing? And what are they doing? Especially with social media right now, not right now, especially with social media.
Yeah,
It's so easy to compare ourselves or see what other people are doing. And if we want the same outcome as another person, and we don't use our creativity and our heart and authenticity,
yeah,
we might just try to mimic or copy what they're doing, but we're not going to compete. We're not going to.
yeah, because it's not authentic to
Yeah.
us. Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. Yeah.
So in closing, we've covered so much. I love the play all in, play from purpose, do your best from your heart, embrace the challenge. You didn't say it this way, but I wrote down, it's about character over results.
Yeah.
It's more about your
Yeah.
character. And then competition gives us the opportunity to be a new and better version of ourselves.
Yeah.
So overall, what advice would you give yourself right now, maybe, and other people about competition?
Um, I would say be patient with yourself,
Hmm.
um, because we can't be all things. Um, but if we can embrace what it is that inspires us and what it is that causes us to want to be the best version of ourselves, then we find an authentic way to harness that and bring it to the world every day, I would say you're doing your job, and regardless of the results, you've competed.
Well, I have to say that I am so grateful for this guy because he challenges me, he pushes me. I can do hard things now. I know that. And I think before you were in my life and that daily drive and that daily, I mean, you really do challenge everyone around you. And I think that's a gift. When we are around other people that are in competition to be their best self, it really does challenge other people to rise up and do better and go further, and always breaking new limits. Like the older we get, we really can be achieving new levels. And so I couldn't think of a better person to speak on competition. So for anyone that is in need of a loan, a residential loan in the state of California, Rusty Mendoza is your guy. 21 years, and yeah, he brings the velvet hammer to getting that loan closed and overcoming every challenge. So you need a lot of persistence and tenacity in lending. Yeah. So thank you so much for joining us for Monday Motivations. And let's see what we have next week. Week 41 is courage. Oh, that's going to be a good one. So see you next week, and thank you. Bye.